I do, on the recycling side, I work mostly for cities, counties, states. On the federal, on the energy side, I work mostly for utilities. Both of them care about.
Why? That's how long ago?
And it's good because my husband.
I haven't seen Steve in a long time. He
He
must be really busy. He used to swing by Starbucks once in a while.
And those guys are often looking for WBEs that can actually do something as opposed to like Junior's, Xerox and company. You know, right? But I don't know if you work in the business now, but yeah, you sometimes you're struggling with a very disabled veteran, something, you know, BE, you know, it's like, oh my God, you know. Will you get us the catering? You know? Right. It's bad. Yeah, I know.
Ah, green building requirements, that's why your niece is. It makes sense.
Hey, not much has changed, right? I just made a few tweaks.
Hey, Izzy. Good to see you.
As well.
So, we're hurting for election multitudes. It's too many Republican debates and nobody wants to be involved in votes anymore. That sounds like me. Nope. But I should put mine on quiet. Silenced.
Wait till May, doesn't make sense. How's it going, I see?
Good, how about you? Thanks.
Jim's got an update.
Thank you.
Yeah, we had a near miss or a week ago Monday. Fortunately, they came, well, this week too.
They came early.
Yeah, they came early, but yeah. Did anybody go to the business after hours?
I couldn't make it last night.
I couldn't either. Wednesday's my babysitting night. Tuesday's my babysitting day, and Wednesday's my babysitting night.
Good for you.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
Yeah.
You spend a little time with grandchildren, and then you turn them over to the for the long-term care to their parents. You can give them chocolate and give
Yeah,
them,
exactly.
get them keyed up.
Can happen. Or we went to those art scans. It's 5:35. Michelle plans to be here tonight. She needs to leave at 6:30, and I need to leave as close to 6:30 as possible. So maybe we can get
Ditto.
started on the agenda tonight.
We're
I
all
have an unfed
supportive.
dog who's probably going crazy right now, yes.
Patient.
Oh, good.
Well,
We'll try.
probably a cushion would look really good to him right now.
Exactly.
So you guys had a chance to look at the agenda, included in the agenda email.
God, I
I sent that
forgot.
also had the work plan, the updated report plans, or there were just a couple of small changes that the board ended up including in the final
Whatever.
version.
Doesn't matter.
That's based on a couple of those items. And then a task that the committee had on their work plan for the first quarter of this year was to have a presentation by the chief building official and hear about how our green building ordinance is enforced and what our inspection process looks like. So Chief Building Official Ernie Kern's here, and he'll go over that briefly and answer some questions for the group. So hopefully we can get through the main items that the committee has on the agenda for tonight in pretty straightforward fashion. I can do the new business items and update items quickly, and then we can segue right over to Ernie. So a couple of calendar reminder items. Lisa, you mentioned the Pace dinner or the Pace business after hours last night. Michelle had planned to go. I was here working on packet items for the board meeting. I didn't have a chance to go. And then Lisa, you said you had a chance to make it to the end.
I did. I asked the Pace people if anybody from the committee had been there thinking of Michelle, and they said they didn't think so.
They didn't think so, yeah. And Leah let me know that she wasn't sure she was going to be able to stay that long, so it might have been just overlapping. You know, the business after hours,
Good,
sometimes
so
have people
glad-
show up and kind of take off.
But
Nobody
they-
else had a chance that you know
They seem
of?
to think it went well. The
Good.
Pace people seem to think it went well, that there were
Yeah,
other people.
yeah, that's what Leah let me know as well. You know, they had a good general turnout, which is great to hear. So that was last night. Tonight we have the meeting, and then a couple of items next month. Actually, I didn't include on here the advisory committee open house. So household hazardous waste hard to recycle event, April 16th. I guess I've sent you the updates on that, or the calendar items on that. Arbor Day, the same date. And then one other calendar item that's in the newsletter that I didn't mention. Oh yeah, advisory committee open house is on Thursday the 28th in this room at 6 to 7:30. So I didn't list that. I apologize for not including that on the agenda. Yard waste facility expanded hours. Last month I let the group know that the town manager had received direction to go ahead and submit for the county sustainability grant funding opportunities that were available for this year. We got in an application, and it was ultimately awarded.
Great.
This was to have the yard waste site be open all year long, hopefully
Yes.
all year long. And Patrick Hammer and the Parks Rec and Open Space staff who oversee that area, in conjunction with the manager's office, with the town manager and I, are working to find volunteers, staff members, and just work out the logistics of trying to keep that site open all year, which was great. It was great to have the additional support from Boulder County's sustainability grants to make that happen. So it'll be great. You know, there are a lot of people that have trees that keep their leaves a really long time, or have landscaping projects they start in the off season, and so kind of going tax day to Thanksgiving doesn't necessarily work for everybody's landscape schedule.
Definitely.
So it's a great add.
Thanks, good ad.
Thanks.
Second.
It's not continuing, though, just FYI. They award those every year, so,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, the grant funding is one-time seed money kind of thing to begin
That'd be
to
great if the town could
pilot
prioritize that in the
programs and
future.
things like that.
That'd
And it's
be
been
really
great. It's been great to do in the past.
How much is the grant?
It's a matching grant, so it'd be $15,000 from the county.
An additional 50 from us?
15.
15?
Yeah, 1.5.
1.5. And then is it same hours all year round, or?
Well, we're going to have to manipulate the hours because of the daylight.
The same-
And some of it's
same-
going to be related to weather. So maybe longer in the summer and shorter in the winter, but still open all year. I don't know the logistics.
Multiple days.
Mhm.
It'd be good if you, even if you just got weekends all winter, that would be
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah, it would be great. But
Wednesday
the Wednesdays,
night
the Wednesdays it's open till 7, but once daylight savings time kicks in or kicks off, it's dark sometimes before Thanksgiving by 6. So it's not safe to be out there and have volunteers or staff members out there. So we've had to adjust the time a little bit towards the end of the season. But having the opportunity for people to drop off yard waste closer to Christmas and past will be be a substantial service add
There goes
for the
Michelle.
town.
Especially
there's
in those
Michelle.
windstorms.
Yeah, when we all find the leaves. That always seems to happen
When I get the
after the
leaves
site
from
closes.
2 blocks away. find
So that's a
the
good
house.
ad. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
You didn't miss anything good. Not yet.
The food's all gone. Cookies and cake are all gone. So.
Eat either, so you did.
We haven't covered too much yet, Michelle, just to catch you up. So we had a couple of the calendar items, and then I just mentioned to the group that the yard waste site facility expanded hours. The grant that was submitted last month or 2 months ago, was ultimately awarded, and the county is going to help support us staffing and keeping the yard waste site open all year. So some good news there. And then I sent you all a note.
Just for 1 year?
That's all they
Well,
award.
it's a
They only award
one-time.
1 year.
It's a one-time grant award. It's not an ongoing grant to support
So it would be a
operations.
good way to evaluate whether or not,
Yes, that's a very good point.
where we need to expend. Okay.
Yeah, and that's really one of the goals, I think, for the county in rewarding these is, finding new projects and new pilot programs to seed and have people try out. So a pilot program like this is great.
Sweet.
Updated calendar item on the joint work session with the town board. Not meeting this month, and it needed to be pushed out to May. So May 23rd is the current date for the joint session with the town board. I sent you all a calendar item, so hopefully that'll work out for you. The next item, banner and giveaway item for events this year. Banner's done, and I had as a task to try and get some additional bags or some additional items for that, and I unfortunately didn't have a chance to get to that over the last month. So we talked last month about bringing some different items that would be potential good kind of swag giveaway items, and we had some feedback on different types of bags that would make sense to give away, and I just unfortunately haven't had a chance to follow up. My apologies for that.
And I forgot to send you the link, so.
Oh, see, it wasn't just
It was
me.
my fault.
It was me and Lisa.
Maybe.
That's why you're here.
Unable to follow through, unfortunately. And then newsletter items. So the lead for the newsletter this month was a reminder for the Heart to Recycle and household hazardous waste, and also the advisory committee open house I referred to earlier as a calendar item, and then the bulk item discard is back on here somewhere. Yeah. And we didn't have an update from the PACE folks for this month. But we did have a county program. If you haven't received anything or seen any of the press releases on this, the county is coordinated a community-wide solicitation to group solar roof panels and get a volume rate, which was a great service for the county to coordinate on behalf of the folks that would be interested in this potentially.
Get ready, HOA.
And they'd had.
It does really.
It's a great program.
It does really fast.
It's a great program. They've had success in the past, and it was re-upped, I think, for this year, and they got really competitive pricing for solar installations through a coordinated purchasing effort through Namaste Solar. So that's in the newsletter also this month.
That's why I come to us.
Those are the main items for the newsletter. We'll have, again, the items for next month. We'll have some of our rotating items that we do quarterly. It'll be the third month, so we'll have some of the every couple month items back in there.
Hopefully the wind thing.
And the wind thing. Well, I think maybe before Ernie comes up, we can ask Jim to come up and touch on one thing that probably makes sense to put in the upcoming newsletters and start coordinating some of the outreach. Did you want to touch on that now, Jim, unless there was anything else on the new business update items?
Okay, then. Jim Payne here from Rock Creek HOA. This will be very brief. There are very few changes. I added Lisa's comment about suggesting people delay putting it out as one option, and a couple of word changes. But essentially, this is what I showed you last meeting, and let's see, maybe not all of you were here last meeting. So just for your benefit, this is strictly the results of our discussions with Waste Connections on what they were comfortable with as things to suggest to residents to ameliorate windblown trash. And the only real difference, when we first started down this road, we had the idea of sending out high wind advisories. Thinking now and talking to Martin, it's a little problematic because collection day is Monday. So if we really know that something big is coming or we get word of it, we'll do what we can to get e-blasts out with this reminder on the town and the HOA websites. But normally, but in general, what we're going to do is just publicize this in the HOA and occasionally through town media and on the website, so that, we tell people, try to be considerate of your neighbors on windblown trash. We've never known what to tell them, and these are things that we think will work and that Waste Connection is very comfortable with. And the biggest thing on here, I think, is the bagging it. We've never really encouraged people to bag on the recycling side, and if wind is coming, they're comfortable with even taking a plastic trash bag, bagging as much of your recycling, putting that on top. And
On top but inside.
oh, yeah,
Yes.
thank you. I'll make sure that's
No,
clear.
it wasn't, I had to think about it when I read that. It was not.
Don't I say on top
It was not
inside?
specifically clear, but anyway.
I say, no, I appreciate it. I'm trying
Yeah.
to.
It was in the
That's
first
fine,
part, the
that's
bag
fine.
it part. It talks about putting
But you
it,
say within
Within the bin.
yeah.
But I'll
I'm
make
just
sure
saying,
it's
when you
clear.
just spoke.
I
that's-
hear you.
But what I was going to ask was, so maybe publicizing this as not just, as on, it doesn't have to be just on the highest wind advisory day, but if they think it might be windy, it's probably a good thing to take. But when you're talking about the town's website or the town, or the website for the HOA, you're also talking about putting on like the CAC on it, like you might write a
Oh, yeah,
note saying,
we'll do all.
CAC, hey, by the way, okay.
We'll do everything we can't use all.
For those of you who are in Rock Creek, not the,
we're
these
not-
people in original town don't get all excited, but anyway.
We're not, when we just run this by the board, just for their information, because a number of them had asked about this, a year or so ago. We're not committing to doing e-blasts for every wind event to begin with. Maybe we get there, but it'd be different if collection day wasn't Monday.
Yeah, it
but-
makes it a little tough. And we'd also, if I remember correctly, we talked about putting out notices in different versions or different iterations of it every other month in the newsletter, regardless of wind, just so that it's top of mind and as a repeat message that people see. And then they won't necessarily see it right before a wind event, but it might be in the back of their mind on an ongoing basis.
if
Sounds good.
there was some will and interest in doing this, we could look at magnet cards for refrigerators, or even stickers that you could put on the inside of your lid. And just for those who weren't here, we did look at ways of latching, and Lisa had mentioned, which is a very expensive proposition, you can do the bear-proof.
For full information, that was the
Right.
only reason I raised it.
But we looked at weighing them down and, or latching them, and there really isn't a good way to do that. And if you weigh it down, and I told a story that Steve Smith tried it, and wind blew it up and hit him in the face and broke his nose. So there's a liability issue there, we think. So anyway, always open for
So-
ideas on this, so.
So do you need a motion and a
I don't
vote
think
to
it's a
approve
motion
it,
kind of.
or what?
I don't think it's a motion kind of thing. If you're welcome, if you want to just
Endorse
say
it.
something to say you endorse it, so.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Move
we
to-
could
move
just
to
make
endorse
it. Hmm?
I second that move.
Okay.
Aye.
There.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Great, so-
The HOA board has seen this too.
Yeah.
Didn't see.
Great, appreciate that, Jim. So I think Jim's going to plan to come and present during an upcoming board meeting. And then I assume that if the town board is favorable and receptive to this, then we'll look forward to some opportunities to, again, coordinate that message, coordinate graphics, just make sure that we're sending out the same and similar message that looks the same and is packaged the same like the HOA. So we appreciate your time and energy on that, Jim. So if it's okay with the group, so Michelle, we talked a little bit about the agenda and that we tried to laser in a couple of things so that those of us who need to try and get out of here within an hour, so closer to 6:30 can. We have a couple of brief items on work plan and leadership election that we can't really do the leadership election again because we don't have quorum again tonight. But Ernie Kern, the chief building official, is here, and he will touch base with the group on one of the items that you had in your work plan this year, which was to talk about the inspection process for the town's green building ordinances. So Ernie, if you haven't had a chance to meet him before, is the town's chief building official, and he's taken the time to put together a brief PDF here document that has the town's ordinances and then some of the criteria under which all of the remodels and new residential construction is built under, and then a little bit on the inspection process. So I have your mouse here, Ernie, so I'll relinquish the mouse if you want to skip through, or I can.
You can do it.
Okay.
That's like giving out the remote.
I know, I'm hesitant, but you know what? I trust Ernie.
That's just page 1 of the ordinance. You can see it was adopted in 2009. Since that time, gone through it. So then it starts out with like 2 pages of definitions.
Maybe Ernie, if I could interrupt for a second, maybe a big picture introduction. What's the point? Maybe a little bit about. I didn't give the group a good kind of outline of necessarily what the ordinance is and what it was passed for.
Yeah, I'll kind of go through that. I'll go through that
Okay.
briefly on the ordinance. That's what it's all based on, is this ordinance. So 2 pages just of definitions of what is considered in there, and so that's 18-1420. 18-1430 is the applicability. It says it's all new construction of residential structures. This is a residential ordinance only. Doesn't affect commercial. So all new construction of residential buildings, all additions and renovations are larger than 500 square feet. Then they have to apply this ordinance to it. Then,
So, what about mixed buildings that we have in our mixed-use development that may have commercial on the bottom and residential above?
Well, it's actually kind of in there. The residential portion would have to adhere to this ordinance, so.
And my understanding is also that there's a space for recycling ordinance that covers commercial, new construction and commercial remodel, that requires that whatever trash space is allocated based on the square footage and all that, there has to be an equal amount of space for recycling, and so that's in the code as well.
It is. It's in a separate section.
I don't care what code it, I mean, I don't
It
care if
is.
it's in this or another
You're-
thing. I
yes.
just want to make sure that people understand that commercial is not completely ignored, so.
Right.
Okay. Great, yeah.
Okay.
Except for it is, because it doesn't apply to the energy stuff.
Why is it residential and not commercial?
Because it was adopted from what they had developed in Boulder.
Yeah,
And Boulder hadn't done commercial at the time it just got passed.
We never got to the commercial, or I don't remember whether we specifically didn't want to get to it or not.
They didn't have it at the time.
Okay.
But this wasn't that long ago.
No, they,
2009.
Huh. I'm sorry, it's just the RCAC, we reviewed it within the past 3 years. And so I'm wondering why we didn't bring in commercial at that time. We reviewed and upgraded the residential requirements.
Yeah, I think the only thing that happened was that we lowered the initial HERS score,
Yeah.
changed that graph going down to make that more, requiring it to be more energy efficient. That's for new dwellings. So it kind of, yeah, it breaks down into.
I'm not saying I'm happy, I'm just saying that it's not.
Yeah, no, get it.
Yeah, it breaks down kind of in the new construction and remodels, and basement finish is included in remodel. So then this page is your energy efficiency. I think I had that out of order actually, but yeah, stay on that chart. Go back up. Yeah, right there. Okay, that's your green point requirements. So, first 7 pages of the ordinance is 15 pages. First 6 pages are this kind of thing, developing the requirements of what you have to do. And then there's 8 pages of how you can accomplish your green points, different things you can do to get them. And so for a small basement between 500 and, well, this is the green points. And then there's a note at the bottom of this chart that says if you don't affect your exterior walls, so basement finish or interior only remodel, you only need half of the points that are listed on here. So, so a basement finish of less than 1,000 square feet only needs 5 green points. And that's pretty easy to attain. And then
Did you say 5?
5, yeah.
Okay.
For,
Oh, okay.
it's 10.
Thank you.
uh,
That's fine.
Right there.
I
10.
saw the 1,000. I was getting distracted by the 1,000. I was thinking 5 out of 1,000, but no, 5 out of 10. Got it. Never mind.
It's okay.
So how do you read that?
Remember
chart?
going through the hers, it was all really weird.
Like, you just said 5. Where's the
So there's a
5?
square footage of what you're doing.
Right.
So it's a new home, the square footage. It includes basements in a new dwelling up to a point where that could be finished. So there's like a mechanical room and things that can't be used. But anything that can be used is included in your square footage. And then your basement is the same way if you're going to finish a basement. That's in the interior remodel there. Most basements are less than 1,000. Some of them are between 1,000 and 2,000. Anything's bigger than that. So it's either you need 5 or 8 points depending on the size of the basement. So it's all based on the square footage that you can work with.
But I think Jim was asking more specifically, how do you get to the, how do you get the points? The points are earned through doing certain things, right?
Points come later. The last
You can get there.
8 or 9 pages of the ordinance are how you get your green
Pretty
points.
quiet.
We're building up to that.
Get there.
You said 5, I don't see a 5 on that chart.
You'll have to
Because
wait.
at the bottom is a note that says 50% if you're not using, if you're not affecting
The interior wall thing, okay, got it.
I think it's on this one.
Okay, and then, I guess after that, and this one here is actually your requirements for energy efficiency, mostly dealing with new construction. There's a note at the bottom of this one somewhere that a home energy audit is required if you're doing a basement finish or a remodel, interior remodel.
Yeah, right.
Again, that one was then for new construction, you have to have a HERS rating, which is it's a home energy rating system.
That's great that they're using an
And
ECC.
they have to hire an outside
It's baseline.
source, person or company who's a HERS rater. Ratings, they have to pass certain testing and be proficient in that. And the HERS rating is it's actually a computer model of the home, and then they compare that to a home based on the 2003 International Residential Code, which is your base house, and that would be a score of 100, and you have to be more efficient than that. And these are how much more efficient you have to be, based again on the size. So up to 2,500 square feet, you have to be a score of 60 is actually 40% more efficient, energy efficient than the base score. The 2012 code, our requirement here is to be 10% more efficient than that, because they require to be about a 70. So we have to be more efficient than the 2012 code, which is what we are in right now. And then as you go up, it goes down, and so your HERS score starts at 60. The lower the HERS score, the better. And so it goes down. I'll jump ahead, I guess. For like Remington homes, they almost all of them are at a score of like 50 or 51 required, and they are getting down to the mid 40s, 45 to 48, in that range. So. And yeah, so that just is a score. It's basically a graph that the bigger it is, the lower your HERS score has to be.
So Ernie, was your example from Remington when they got down to, you said, what, 40 or 48? So that's
45 to 48. So
45
they're
to
below
48.
50, which is what their requirements are 50, 51, based on what kind of house it is.
so they're several percentage points better than
A
what
little bit better than required.
would be required.
Yeah.
What about that homes they're building right over here?
Same. They had to do a HERS report also. They aren't finished yet. I'm talking about, so their projected scores are below the size of their houses. And I didn't see how big those were. They're not all that big. There's no basement there, so it's just the first and second floor. So they're
Ernie,
between
this-
50 and 60 somewhere, and they're meeting that.
So in order to receive a building permit, so everybody has to go through the steps to submit and complete these?
Yes, they have to submit a projected HERS score with the application, and then for a basement or something like that, you have to have your energy audit scheduled before you can get the permit.
So all that's submitted with you with plans and other submittal
Right.
items before building
Yeah.
permit is contemplated? Okay. And that's only for residential?
And then,
Right.
the real test shows what the real HERS is?
Right, and you have to do.
And then you don't
the
get an
HERS
occupancy permit until you meet that,
Right,
hopefully.
right, yeah.
Really?
Yes, yeah, they submit
Just
that.
checking,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, they have their, the HERS rater actually has to do a couple inspections as they're going along. They're
Mhm.
going to do an insulation inspection, and that may be all, but then at the end, they have to do their pressure door on their test. They have to seal the door, apply some pressure, and see how much leakage they have in the house. So that's one of the things that goes into the HERS score.
So there's a follow-up test before a CO is contemplated. So that's just residential? So what would govern commercial?
Let's get that later.
Oh, I get that later. I'm jumping ahead.
So then we'll go on here. Now here, like I said, they have 9 pages of how you get your HERS points. I reduce it down into a couple pages here briefly, because in the ordinance, you've got a description of how you get it.
Can you
This
hold
is
on
kind
one
of just a
second?
listing.
I just wanted to know what additional waste diversion means. How is that interpreted by the inspectors?
That you have to get, that's not inspected. That is you have to see, I guess, that they have the waste diversion there.
What-
Then they've got to get something from their, where their trash hauler, or where they're taking it to, that tells them that they've diverted that trash. It's,
Is that the only recycling element in here?
yes, I think so.
Does that mean that they have to tell you that they have a recycling bin and they put it out, or what is that?
Yeah, they'll have a recycling bin there, and then some trash haulers will take it and recycle it where they take it. Then they give them like a.
Well, we're all the same, some, it's all the same hauler.
This would be for
No.
construction.
You have a
Yeah.
special
C&D.
construction
This is
dumpster, yeah,
C&D.
at your house.
Oh, residential. This
It's
is
not the
residential,
user, it's the
construction.
during construction.
Right.
Okay.
So they're gonna get it either from the hauler or from the site where they take it to. Some places will recycle at the site, at the dump or wherever they're.
Thanks.
And, yeah, so then they go on, and some things, for instance, the under wall insulation, our new code says it has to be R19, which exceeds what our green ordinance is. So that, I mean, they all going to get a point for that. And then if they do windows, the code now requires 0.32, and our ordinance actually was 0.34. So if they replace windows, they're going to get half a point for each window they do. And then it just goes down the list of how you get your points, how you can get your points. So I've got this on there, and go down to the next one. Keep
So it
going,
looks
it's
like
2
mostly
pages.
kind of-
I
so
reduced it
It's all
to
energy.
kind of 2 pages
So
just
all
of
energy?
list.
Okay,
you
so
know.
it goes from kind of HVAC
And you have to refer back to the
items
code to see.
solar, and then water?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Are there any plans to update some of the energy efficiency measures in here, or is this pretty much
there's
set in stone?
pretty much it.
Okay.
I mean, that's the way the ordinance is written, you'd have to go
Mhm.
back to council to change anything.
Yeah.
And if they keep making the International Energy Conservation Code, which we adopt, the
Mhm.
current code usually, and that keeps getting more and more restrictive as well. Like I mentioned, the windows are going to exceed what we had in the ordinance,
Mhm.
and insulation is going to exceed what we had in the ordinance already, so.
Cool.
So does that get updated when the international code gets
Right.
updated?
So-
Automatically it's tied to the latest?
No,
No.
we have to adopt that, the new code. So right now, we're in the 2012 code.
Mhm.
The 2015 code is out, but we have not adopted it yet. So these numbers I'm giving you are under the 2012 code. So
But just for clarification, they're not updated every year. It's on a kind of a
3-year basis.
2-3-year cycle. So
That's
this would
what
be
I was
the next
talking
one
about,
that's
that
due.
we-
And then the International Energy Conservation Code is adopted by reference as in?
it's one of the codes.
Yeah, it's one of the codes.
Residential
So when you do
code,
one, you do
building
all of
code,
them.
Mechanical, plumbing, fuel gas code, and International Energy Conservation Code are all included in there.
So they kind of come as a package. So when the board sees the new building code, probably sometime middle or later this year, this will be
Sometime
one of
after
the...
November, I'm hoping.
You can hope, Joe. You can hope.
That would be about right, though, because like we reviewed it in early
So I have this,
2012.
the whole list in
2012.
a computer in a form. I'll go down to the next one. Right there, okay, stop. So this is a house, 2191 Daly Street. It was doing a basement finish. And so then all I do is I just take it out and reduce it and just keep in the ones that they're getting points for. So when I look under F there, that's your toilets and your fixtures, all your plumbing fixtures. So you have to go back to the code to see how many points you can get for that. You go 25, 50, or more than 75% of all the fixtures in your house. You have to go back to, not just the basement, but all the fixtures. And if you exceed, so he's got 25%, he's getting 2 points. You can go up to 75% and get 6 points for that item you could get.
So Ernie,
So-
this column on the right it's kind of a running total, and then you get a
Right. And it's total at the
cumulative
bottom,
total there at the
yeah.
bottom, so 18.
And everybody automatically gets 1 point because they have to get an energy audit, and that's one of the items on there, so.
So in this case, how many did they need?
I think they only need 10.
And they got 18.
That way they could miss some, and still
So
pass.
there are several things that look like they, even under the mandatory, that probably need to be changed. So the one,
Well-
there's one up there that says that the lighting fixtures have, at least half the bulbs have to be energy efficient, but ESA means that pretty much all of them have to be. The national standards don't even allow you to sell
Right.
incandescent bulbs anymore, so that one,
So they're going to go that way
one might have to be
anyway.
100% or something like that. But anyway, okay.
And similarly for like water heating, there are heat pump water heaters and condensing units and stuff that are newer technology beyond just the tankless ones mentioned. So
Right.
those might be good to include.
Well, they
I
are.
didn't see a lot about heat pumps in
That's
there.
actually underwater efficiency.
Oh, was it? Okay,
Yeah.
maybe I just missed it.
So tankless,
Cool.
well, it's not on here.
Oh, I see.
But
Okay,
it's in the ordinance.
gotcha.
So I just listed, the
This
items.
is an actual site
To get
example.
the
Here's just an
actual
example. Okay,
parts
cool.
of it, yeah, I've got to go back to the ordinance and.
These
Mhm.
are the highlights.
Yeah,
and
makes
I
sense.
don't-
Okay, cool.
And I didn't get a chance to read if it had a lot about heat pumps and other things on it as well, so. But anyway.
So
That's not something we're going to review here.
so then, okay, stop this one now. This one only needed 5 points. It's a smaller basement. And he got 7. And so in fact, I was just out recently. They had one window and one door. They're thinking maybe they're not going to do the door, which is okay because they're still going to have enough points. But they'll have 6 instead of 7. But he's doing
So-
everything else on there, so.
Can we go?
When somebody starts chipping, they do that, this only kicks in when someone is redoing over 500 square feet.
Right.
So they put in all these things, but, I mean, we approve doors, windows all the time. There's no,
Right, so your doors have to meet the new code. Doors, windows have to meet the new code, which is 0.32, which is actually better than what we were proposing in this 2009 ordinance. So anything you redo in your house is actually better than what our code would ask you to do.
okay, I'm saying.
He's
HOA
implying that they aren't getting building
the
permits,
HOA,
they're only going to the HOA.
Somebody does this
Yeah.
work, you approve it, they get the points, and then they, 2 years later.
Most
they
windows
replace
are
the
coming
door.
in. Windows require a permit. Replacing windows
Right.
requires a permit. So we're getting those. and-
Even one window, or?
Sure they
Yeah,
Mhm.
one window.
They do, they
I
actually do
know.
go get the permit.
Yeah.
The question is whether or not you get the HOA
That's-
approval, because you really shouldn't have to if you're replacing the same window, but.
Do the companies
You're still
get the
technically
permits,
supposed to.
or do
We just
the
did that, so
individual
we
homeowners?
looked into
Either
it.
one can get it. It's usually the company.
Yeah, it's,
An individual can get their own permit if they want to.
it's, if you're doing the job, trying to do it yourself, it gets harder, and you get the permit yourself, and that's when you learn a lot.
I guess we're also connecting up things like.
Character
Do you have any
building.
commercial, do you have some commercial examples you could go to?
I don't.
Yeah.
But I
Could-
have on paper. I do.
You
Okay.
think
I'm sure
all
many people don't.
window
Can we do
replacements
that?
get permits? I think that's, what do you think?
They
As
should.
far as we know.
Pretty much,
I'm
yeah.
certain they don't.
Well, they may not,
I
but
had
we have,
Is it for change outs or is it for replacement or what? Because I didn't get a permit, my big picture window got a crack in it like your windshield does.
they replaced only the glass?
And
or-
we just replaced glass,
Yeah,
is
that's
that
not-
okay?
Yeah, glass is different.
That's,
Well,
yeah,
That's
that's
not
not
a-
doing a
yeah,
whole.
that's not a building permit thing, but, but
No,
you should
no one
have to
ever
get
mentioned
one.
it. Yeah, no one ever mentioned it, I never even thought of it.
No, but if you, I got a letter from the HOA about my windows, and we worked it out. But, building permit, the contractor knew, it was part of the deal. They came and got the permit and we got inspected.
Oh, yeah, in
It's
terms of
standard.
getting the windows done? Yeah, I didn't even think it
Yeah,
said that
standard
automatically took
procedure.
care of it. It was brilliant.
But it, we're
All
on
right,
camera
anything, so this
anyway.
was one more example that you had, Ernie. Was there
Yeah.
anything specific about this
No.
example from Vinca?
No,
Okay.
just
So they
another one.
needed to get to 5 and they got to 6.5?
Right.
It's not that hard.
Good.
Is the key.
So even for these small jobs, there is still this audit process that you go through, and that every homeowner, or the contractor has to go through, even for the smaller jobs that happen in a lot of homes in the neighborhood here, even for small basement refinishes.
This-
If
this
it's over
is-
500 square feet, less than 500 square feet, you don't
Mhm.
have to comply with this.
Total side tangent, Ernie, but do you believe in any way that having this has deterred people from getting a full functional permit?
No, I don't.
Your numbers, you've seen kind of consistent numbers, the people that weren't going to get a permit anyways, it's not because of
Right.
this. Well, that's at their own.
Especially the
risk, right?
contractors, because it's going to be the contractor taking liability. So
Yeah,
it's,
well, it's a big deal. I mean, if you don't get a permit to finish your basement and you have a fire or anything like that, nothing is covered in the basement.
Mhm.
So it's dumb to not spend that $1,000 because you recoup it by your purchases of your items that you don't have to pay sales tax on. So it all washes out.
And I would say people are becoming more aware that in the past, I think maybe when I was first going up back in the 90s, later 90s and stuff, and I guess even early 2000s, maybe they didn't push for the enforcement of it and didn't try to make them aware of that, of needing a permit. But I think now, I don't think there are very many that go in without a permit. I'm sure there are some somewhere, but I don't think it's very many anymore.
I think people do well for it.
And one of the reasons is when you sell your house, a lot of buyers now are asking, did you get a permit to do any of the work you're doing there? So, and we look that up quite a bit for realtors. They want to come in and say, did they get a permit for this and that?
So
So
I had some friends that learned that lesson hard way when they went to sell. Kept on telling them they had to pull everything out and redo all their wiring, and oh, it was bad.
So, did you say you have the commercial coming next?
well, I don't really have it on the screen.
But
But
you
what
can
the-
talk about the energy and the recycling things related to commercial?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have it on the recycling trash issue because as far as, you're talking about the dumpsters after it's done, you mean, for
I'm
use?
talking about the ongoing generators dumpsters, the business that works there,
Right,
not the construction demolition, but the
Right.
business afterwards.
Yeah, requirements.
There has
And that's
to be
con-
space. The
that's
design
contemplated
has to
in the
have
land
space.
use code, so it's
The
separate.
design has to have, no, but it matters, because the
It-
design
it
has to have
does.
space for it. You can't,
Right.
you may or may not be able to force them to have the dumpster, but the code at least requires them to have the space. And that should be part of the inspection
Yeah.
process.
is that in the
It
land
is.
use code?
It is in the land use code, and it's
Okay.
part of our staff, the planning staff, and coordinating with Reggie and also with Ernie to make sure that that particular ordinance that I happen to have right in front of me is enforced and is included in all FDP proposals and submittals that come to the town board. So it is contemplated. It's not documented through the permit process, but it's something that we document through the FDP and construction documents process.
So the answer is there's nobody actually verifying that they are complying with those things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they would have to,
No.
yeah. If it's on the FDP, we look a little bit at that when we do inspections. We haven't had that much commercial going on.
Yeah.
But coming up right in the town center, it will be. So we would coordinate some of that, and then the town, I'm sure there's going to do some, planning department's going to go out and do some inspections for compliance with the FDP.
If we want it to be actually inspected after the fact, does it need to get added to this kind of code? Or is the place it is now really inspected and really enforced?
I think it will be through the planning and manager's office.
Yeah, I have no qualms about where it is now. It's located in the land use code, and we're responsible for enforcing everything that's in the land use code and everything that's approved in FDP, just the way we would with the windows, the doors, the location, and where the roof is.
Thanks.
Ernie, I
What does
guess-
it require for energy on the commercial side?
Well, it's only as far as the energy conservation code. It has a residential section and a commercial section. And so you have, in there, you have to have a mechanical and electrical compliance certificate from the designer, okay? And then after it's constructed, they have to have a compliance.
Do they have to commission the building?
The commissioning, yes, that's it. So both the mechanical and electrical have to have commissioning on the building. So, and then the building envelope of the building is also covered under there, as far as your insulation, your glazing, all that sort of thing, so.
And what is that track to? Is that another international energy code, or is that like type of like LEED type codes
No,
out
it's
there?
the International Energy Conservation Code. So that has, like I said, residential and commercial in it, sections on each. The book is about this thick now. Used to be a pamphlet, now it's about that big. So
And so this committee might want to investigate what Boulder did on the commercial side as well.
Yeah.
They did pass a commercial building code recently, didn't
I think they passed a green points tag for it. So I think we should investigate that.
I
and see
agree,
how-
because we need to get on that before really any of this happens, to
Before
make
that
sure
happens.
everything's aligned, yeah.
they? That's gonna have to be a board action
Of
ultimately.
course, but we have to recommend and.
We're gonna have to
Sometime.
push it for them to happen.
Sometime after November.
We can't wait till that long. We'll make it quick,
There's
how
a
about
theme
that?
coming up here, Joe.
We'll make it snappy.
In the equation, points this out, 80% versus 90, the two major percentages of HVAC systems efficiency.
Okay. If,
I'm just trying to see how important that is.
yeah, it makes a difference in your energy usage.
Point. No.
Well, it's not required by the ordinance. If you're replacing your mechanical systems as part of your basement finish, say, then you have to go to a high efficiency. But if you're just replacing, if an owner is just replacing it, they can go with the 80% efficiency still. Although, I don't know how much longer those are gonna be made.
Because the higher ones, everything I read are problematic.
Well, they're problematic, particularly the way our homes are designed. Most of
You
our,
force someone to go to a 90%.
That's code, yeah.
So it has to be-
That's in our green ordinance. Only if they are doing it in conjunction with their basement finish.
Or if they're doing a 500-foot.
So do
No,
it
no,
first.
only
Yeah,
if
that-
it's
Do it, yeah.
permitted.
Do
They
that.
don't-
And problematic in
Before
what
you change-
terms? Yes, you have to have appropriate drafting, whatever.
you don't get points for it, that's all.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, it's a point thing.
Is this enough, do you have something you hand homeowners that explains all this, or they just send them to the code?
Yeah, we've kind of put the ordinance of how you get your green points in our basement finish packet that we'll give out to them if they want that.
Thanks.
So you,
A lot of them will do
I think
it
it's pretty
with me.
accessible, really.
You know, they'll kind of make their list and then want to know where else they can get some points.
Get a new furnace. 90% wasn't.
Is there any time
Looked at my house, I said,
limit? I
it's
mean,
not designed for it.
when
not worth
when
paying
do
for.
codes kick in? So when FTPs are they subject
Lose
to
more.
the FTP? Is the building subject to when they made their first FTP and those energy codes? When they break ground? At what
I
point
think
is
it's
it
when they submit their building plans.
building plans? Okay, and what phase are they in over there?
Contractor came in and did
No one has submitted yet, although we're expecting it.
Need for the house.
I was maybe June,
Actually, we had more
June for some residential,
before.
and maybe, what about the town park?
So we got
That
to
four-
There isn't,
unit.
yeah, so I think you're referring to construction drawings that would be
Right.
considered for review. So that's after the FTP and before a permit for development or permit for construction is submitted or permitted. And then at this time, there aren't any other than Boulder Valley Ice in the town center.
Okay.
Permitted,
So if we want
but I think on the schedule, I think we're looking at June maybe for plans to come in, or,
That would be ideal, but there isn't anything submitted.
But the board doesn't act that quickly, so we're gonna have to, we might miss the
Well-
we might miss the review first buildings, but. for-
Is your
I'm talking
question?
about commercial only, because
Oh,
res is
commercial
already
only.
green
Mhm.
pointed.
Again, venting.
At least it's, something. But the commercial is the problem, and so,
Mm-hmm.
other than Boulder Valley Ice, when's the next commercial thing? Or is it all flex space, and so it can, which
Well,
code
if you
that?
count
Flex
commercial
space,
as
whatever.
business,
That's a very good question.
Well,
It should be under commercial.
we're gonna
but,
get
yeah. 'Cause it's
hotels,
meant to be commercial.
we're gonna get hotels everywhere, so
But anyway, so it sounds like what we need is.
Sounds like we
you
need to draft
Or one of the
something.
committee to talk with Boulder and find out what their green points are for the commercial side. Do you want to do it, or do you want one of us to do it?
Oh, it's
Right.
not something I would have time to do.
I'll do it.
And then do we have to then also make a point to bring this topic up at a formal town board
Well-
meeting?
This is going to
Well,
have
we
to.
have a joint session.
We can bring it up in the joint session, but
Yeah,
to
that would
have
be
this
that would be the
commercial building
opportunity.
code emanate,
So-
would have to come from staff.
So
And I perceive it not being strongly received.
Of course, because God forbid we be a leader.
Well, it would be an opportunity, so
Well,
the,
do you know how the fight was for this?
Oh, I know,
the,
yes.
the joint meeting is going to come up in May, so that would be the opportunity to revise the work plan, because the committees are to work on items that are addressed and identified in the
And we
work
said
plan.
we were going to work on this topic,
Well,
codes and such.
that was for insurance of, I guess I don't want to
Yeah,
quibble over wording,
if we're
Lisa,
sure
but let
that
me
what
bring
we
it
are
up.
looking for isn't in there, I think it's totally
Well, I
appropriate to bring
think
it up.
if you're doing research, see what we're looking
Yes.
for.
Yeah.
See what other localities in the area are doing.
So
'cause that'll
confirm
be in-
compliance with
that'll
all new
be
development, I
invariably
think
be
was
a
was the word.
question.
It's,
Is-
I thought the emphasis was on pace,
Yeah,
not for me.
that approach and a more voluntary approach.
right.
But it's an opportunity in May to talk about, with the board, what they would like to see as next steps from this
Well,
committee.
there's two
There's
different.
Researching methods, and then there's taking it to the next step of developing a recommendation to change, and that would be the
Yeah,
opportunity.
you're right, Jim. Pace for existing businesses, I think building code is a totally different thing than, and pace is to, reward businesses for doing things and
Well,
recognize
PACE
help.
wouldn't apply to new
Yeah,
construction
exactly.
because they expect the new buildings to
To meet
already
these
be
certain
at
standards.
at a
Yeah.
certain standard.
And we're really, at least what your goal is to go beyond the current energy conservation code to something that's higher and requires more stringent or higher, more points for all new commercial. Is that the end goal?
Well, I think we've just identified that we had an unrecognized gap between the commercial and the residential sector.
Mhm.
So-
Which is what we were looking for. We
Yes.
were wondering if that's the case, and now we've
Mhm.
found it, so I think we're fine in whatever
I'm
we
not
do.
going to sweat it.
I'm not either.
If they want to beat me up and kick me off, they'll do it.
Well, it's not a question of beating up, it's just.
I mean, so what's the consequence,
Well, it's a question,
Yeah, seriously.
doing the research or checking it out and then making a recommendation or bringing it up as project to,
Well, and it's something that's probably pretty critical, even if it comes up, because we're getting ready to build new buildings that
Mhm.
will be here for
Mhm.
a while. So if
Yeah.
there is something that we could improve on,
Yeah,
right
now is the
would be
window.
time to
Now
do
is
it.
absolutely
Yeah,
the
it was
window.
easy to kind of always push it off because we didn't foresee that coming up, but now it is, so it's kind of
Mhm.
critical it gets dealt with, so I
Yeah.
agree.
So does this
Alright.
make sense to have as a topic maybe for next month's meeting to talk about,
Absolutely.
steps
Mhm.
and maybe some of the resources that are available, and then plan to talk about that with the board at the joint session in May?
Sure.
Yep.
So Ernie, can you tell us how much more stringent the Green Point system is besides just the base international energy code?
It's like 30%, 40% more efficient and that sort of stuff
Yeah, right now, you're,
for the HERS scores.
yeah, you're 10% more efficient to start from the 2012 code.
But nobody in this town builds a house that small, so,
Right.
pardon me, but.
So yeah, you're at least 10% more efficient than the 2012 code with this ordinance, yes.
Okay.
Password related, somewhat
Sorry.
related question, because it
Just
also
running
happens
out
to
of
be in
time,
there.
so I was just trying to-
You have in the work plan for the second quarter, light bulb education, and I was just, we, from the HOA perspective, we was not going to get involved in policing light bulbs, but you see a real, I don't know if it's a problem, that's what I'm asking the question, but people are putting all kinds of stuff up. I know I have trouble even getting light bulbs that matching, or you go and you get.
ergo, that's the
Wi-Fi
education
that-
thing.
you replace. So there's that issue. Some people are putting up these lights that are just really bright white. I mean, they just.
I'm
I don't-
picking those as fast as I can find them and the biggest watt I can.
So, no, so.
There's the ones that
Old
zap the
eyes.
lights.
You're talking about it,
Yeah.
Are you talking about exterior lights? Like,
Only exterior
I'm
lights, I'm
talking-
sorry, exterior lights. I was just wondering if there's any, well, let me,
Can I do one thing? Thanks, Ernie.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
That was,
thank you,
that
Ernie.
was
that's been
really
great to
wise
see.
and learned, so thank you very much.
Mhm.
Thanks for your time and for doing that research.
Yeah, thanks so much.
anyway, I was just gonna say, if anyone has, as you go through that, any suggestions for, to tell people what are good for outside lights, that, you know, give them some guidance, because people just don't know what to do with these bulbs. You go down there, you don't know what to get anymore.
that's why we talked about doing the education program. I mean, you get 2 or 3 different kind of bulbs in your living room, and you go nuts, different colors and light brightnesses.
So, yeah, can we get back to the agenda then, and we'll bring that up for the next meeting, yeah?
Yeah, so I've got a note to bring that up for the next meeting and as an item for the group to talk about options to bring forward, potentially to go over with the board on potential next steps.
Okay, I think that's probably our key.
And try to, and I guess we'd want to talk about a timeline to ensure that there would be an opportunity for the board to consider approving something before a permit was to be issued.
That's the plan.
Is this a planning commission thing too, or is that just land use code?
That would be both.
I
Be
don't
both.
remember if you guys looked at green points or not, do you remember?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, because I had John Craycraft sitting next to me, and he understood leads and all of that, which was helpful.
Was there anything else on tonight's agenda?
So the only 2 items remaining on, or actually 1 item.
Things that don't require
We'll do
quorum.
that, so yeah.
So if we're done with that item, the only other item that we had for the group to talk about was the work plan. So Lisa, like you mentioned, the work plan that the group has worked on for several months and the board approved last month with just a couple of small changes. There were a red line item to clarify just a couple of things. So Garden in a Box, presenting a recommendation for next steps, and then the light bulb education through newsletter, e-blast, and other electronic media.
Okay,
Those
well,
were
the garden in the
changes.
box, we've already missed, so.
Yeah.
Well, we could become, I don't know how the towns become involved, but Superior could be added next year for the discount for their citizens. You know,
Mhm.
Lafayette, Louisville, Boulder, everybody.
Let's write a
did
letter
that.
to them to request that, and then we will have met that.
That's
Yeah.
a good idea.
Okay?
Good call.
Can we do that?
We had it
Write
in
a letter
the
to
past.
Garden in the Box, ask to be on their list next year. for the
Because then
discount
we'd actually have enough notice
Yes.
to get it out to our citizens so that they wouldn't miss it every year.
Yeah, I saw the article in the paper just last week, right?
Would that be okay, Martin?
I think it'd be great. So we're actually trying to coordinate with CRC, the folks who host the Garden in a Box program, to get more involved with them,
Great.
which is something that I just unfortunately haven't had a chance to do. There's a member of Patrick Hammer's staff in the Park Rec and Open Space Department who's going to help support some of the program items for the committee and me,
Okay.
to help the committee try and get some additional items done, and specifically working with CRC to promote the
Great.
Xeric workshop, hopefully do one this summer, and find some new ways to partner with them. And then the Garden in the Box is an ongoing program that the town has supported at different levels in the past. We've even had them here to sell at some points in past years. So we've been an active participant with them, but you're right, Lisa, it would make sense for us to reinvigorate that. or
Why don't we do that,
rein-
and we actually have a volunteer to write that letter, or draft of the letter in case you're busy.
Oh, well, it's not, I don't even think it takes a letter. We're-
No, but I think it would be good if the committee could say that we did a formal letter thing
Yes,
to have met the work plan.
Okay.
I agree.
And just
Thank
to
you.
let you know, I actually reached out to them last month to see if they might be, somebody might be willing to come talk or talk about their boxes or xeriscaping for Arbor Day. And they have all of their own xeriscaping workshops that are going on, so they
Mhm.
were busy. And the lady actually said they kind of go out and get their own experts
Mhm.
that she could put us in touch with
Oh,
sometime.
cool.
So-
Yeah, that would be great.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that was it. So the work plan was approved at the last meeting by the town board.
Great.
And I sent it with your agendas this week. If you don't have it or missed it, I'll send it again with the meeting notes as an FYI item. And then, we're right on time. So the remaining item was leadership election, and we're again not a quorum tonight. So
So maybe we should do the email things we were gonna do. I know we can't vote by email, but at least we can get the people
Mhm.
thinking about it and try to get people to the next.
See if
Sure,
they
yeah,
find
I
out if
mentioned that in
anybody's
the-
interested.
And
Otherwise,
probably,
Michelle's it forever.
Try and maybe get some interest if we're gonna have the open committee. I didn't know about it before, but see if there's something we can do at the open house and have people here.
If you know people, talk to them.
Yeah.
Yes, anybody who's
You
interested,
have to make employees, Jody.
point them to,
Would
point them either, have them
suggest-
give me a call or point them to the website or the newsletter. There's some great information. We try to make it really easy for folks, and there's been flyers out here both on the library box and on the desk out front. And they've been on, I think a couple of people have had the community information board at Panera's has had the flyers on too. So if you know anybody, please send them my way or ask them to submit an application. There are currently no pending applications.
Okay.
As an FYI.
For anybody or everybody but us?
Committee.
Right now, there aren't any pending applications for anybody, but not for this group specifically.
Does everybody have vacancies? Or is it
There are
just us?
vacancies on 2 other committees.
Okay, that makes me feel better, at least
Yeah.
it's not just us.
So we're
Yeah.
not rejects, yeah.
Starbucks, get it up at Starbucks if you do
Thanks.
mention that.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I know,
So
maybe
at
if we
6:30,
start
we're
having
going to try
meetings
and be
in the
done
bar,
now.
if you know
If
people.
By the way,
Perfect.
if you guys wanted to take on a campaign, you know Starbucks doesn't recycle their coffee cups.
They don't recycle anything, FYI.
Yeah.
Kind of stop that whole interest, yeah.
Not a thing. Which is fine.
I don't want to be a rabble rouser, but
Crazy, I thought they were all
no,
sustainable.
it's trash.
They were, but then they were moving in that direction, and then they seemed to have backslid.
But I think it's also, it's a tricky situation, this is totally off topic, but it's a tricky situation, so I know for a fact that, let's just say the one over by Safeway, they can't, because their landlord will not provide a place for a recycling bin.
See, that ergo, that
So
was
even if they
Lisa's
have
point
corporate
about
standards, they can't
commercial
clean up
building.
because we don't
Sucks.
enforce it and push it.
Huh.
We'll work
Uh-huh.
on it.
I know, I just want to go up to Ed and smack him, because I can only imagine
like
like
the
how much
Jamba Juice
recycling they
problem.
have to do. Huh?
It's like the Jamba Juice problem as well, where the
Yeah.
Jamba Juice people won't let them put them in anything but styrofoam corporate policy, and therefore you can't recycle it.
Yeah, but like at that building, when they built that building, it's like there isn't room for corral, and you could get like a half-size trash and
I thought
half-size
there's a big
recycling. I'm dealing
apartment
with this.
complex we have there.
There's nothing that says
Or
commercial
during-
can't get recycling in 96-gallon bins, though. So, and that's a big issue in a lot of places.
It is.
We
I
found
know.
that those will fit in screened areas and where a new bin won't, but a 96-gallon will.
Yeah, it's tricky, it's interesting. I'm fighting the same battle with my dad up in Loveland. He won't get recycling at our church. And I'm just thinking-
We need to get Ralphie's green team out here.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Familiar with that?
No, I'm just laughing at
CU's trying to do
energy
100% waste diversion.
That's
And
awesome.
so all of their
No, like,
events, they have students as part of Ralphie's
Yeah.
green team.
Yeah.
I like
trying to
solar where it's
implement
now
this.
become like,
They're-
you know,
they're
the
doing a
environmental
great
hippie
job.
thing,
It
and then
is a
like the
great
super
job. I've been
conservative,
to a
like
couple events.
apocalypse
It's pretty
prepper
interesting.
crowd. And you've got like these two polar opposites. They're both
I
like
was
super into
sitting
solar.
there saying,
It's
"No,
awesome.
we can do it."
Yeah.
I know, like, his biggest thing, and this is the problem in a lot of the new buildings, it's like he's got a corral, we have no place to extend that corral. The only thing that can fit in there.
And
well,
they
the
would
only thing
have
that can
people
fit in there is
submit
our
it,
dumpster.
Yeah.
put the different things.
That's what
in it
these
until they come
students
up
are
with what
doing.
they're doing.
Yeah.
Until you can't physically recycle
That
them.
has
Yeah.
like either two tabs or whatever.
Bye-bye.
Like actually force them to do it.
Yeah.
And I can't like just magically add on corrals, that doesn't work, you know?
Right. Just build a divider in the middle and,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Tag team.
Michelle,
that
you've
sucks.
been
That's
busy
tough.
or traveling or?
There's a way we can tag team and include it in our.
Yeah.
What's going on in your life?
Well, you know, it's just still as crazy as usual. I mean, I don't know if you knew this, I mean, 'cause it's been a few years now, but you know, my husband lives and works in LA.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
Oh, that's
And
not
it's
an
funny.
easy situation.
it's not, and it's funny because it's been, I can't even believe it, we just turned 3 years on this whole thing. But for some reason, this year has been harder. And I don't know if it's because the kids are involved a lot more,
Yeah.
and I don't have a driver yet
Yeah.
in my house, so I think I'm finding myself just like torn between everywhere.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that. That's.
I know, it's a bummer. Yeah, that, and
Is
I'm
that
going
gonna
up.
be, well, it's 3 years, so it sounds like it's gonna be long-term.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's changing anytime soon, which is okay. I just want to make sure it's doing the right thing for our family.
Okay.
Good, see you next month. That's sweet of you to say, because I really miss like the town meetings and whatnot, but I'm like, something they had to give.
Well,
I'm
you
like,
always had things to say at the town meetings.
well, and I feel bad, but it's like, the reality is, it's like, I like to be involved, and like, I like to know, and I like being present, because it's just easier than sitting and watching on a computer screen. I can't stand it either. So I feel like I'm totally out of touch with so many things in the town, it makes me sad.
Well-
And then also I'm working up in my family's business up in Loveland, so like, I just came straight from here. so-
Yeah, I heard your
Yeah.
business has been busy.
Gimping. Yeah, it's busy.
I'm just tired, skied all day today.
Did you? Ow! Awesome!
Awesome, it was a banner day up there too.
Sweet, where'd you go?
Mary Jane.
Nice.
It
No,
was-
this Dairy Queen my dad has up in Loveland it's actually the busiest in the country. Like, we sell more ice cream than anybody else. This
That's a
little
great area.
hockey.
How long has it been there?
It has been in that same location ever since before he bought it, and it was a gas station before that, so it's been in Loveland for 53 years now.
Wow.
It's a great store. I've been there probably 20 or 30 times. My grandmother used to live right down the street from me.
Oh, how funny.
Right down on the town.
Big IDQ.
And it's got a great personality to it.
It was
It's
my
up on the
dad's
walls, and
own pet project. Let me tell ya.
it's a man cave
It's
with
a
ice
good
cream.
little teaching lesson for like town stuff in some ways.
You're driving
Back
up to
in the-
Loveland most every day too.
Yeah, but it's just funny, because yeah, it's the fight to be non-traditional, because, he wants a store that looks like an older nostalgic store.
Mhm.
Of course, I'm trying to put some water stains on the roof, doesn't go like that. Just
It's
too-
personality.
He's trying to get on Diners Drive, guys.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, that's awesome, you went up.
We go on Thursdays, we don't go on weekends.
Really?
Unless we do if it means skiing with grandkids, otherwise
Okay.
we stay away from weekends.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, less snowboarders to knock you over.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Although I'm petrified, I hear the snowboarder coming behind me.
Yeah, well, if you can hear it, that's great.